Good evening, or day, or whatever. These time zones, they kill me, man. They kill me. Sweet first stream I made live. Happy to hear it, man. I mean, to be fair, today is gonna be a little bit of a drag, at least for me. I don't know if it's gonna be for you guys, because my sleep is getting terrorized. It's been a few days. It's been a few days without sleep. But who needs sleep anyway? So we'll see. But I'll do my best. How are you guys doing? Good morning, Doug. Oh, I wish. I haven't seen mornings in years. Congrats to the first word of the duckling. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was very sweet. Quite funny to be that it's steady, basically, which is very cute. Papa duck? Yes, Papa. That's what she said. Great that you did it on video. Yeah, it's quite cute. She was in a talking mood, basically. Like she was kind of trying to repeat whatever we said, and then we started recording, and I got a Papa out of her, which is cute. What's up, Duck? Hope all is well with Mama and Baby Duck. Yeah. Besides all of us being tired, because like there's a thing when babies learn something, they just don't want to sleep anymore for some reason. Like they learn the new skill or whatever, and then they're just like, fuck it, I'm not sleeping. And that is a little bit of a struggle. Hey Don, you pick up any ETH? No, I'm not. I'm not trading until at least January, New Year. More likely than not, I will not trade till like March or April, because one, I'm way too tired for it, so I really don't feel like it, and two, there's a lot of things to do now for me in real life, and three, I mean, I don't see a point in trading into the ETF. That seems dumb. Like if I had to take a trade, I would take the ETH BTC trade. But yeah, I really don't want to. So if someone picked up ETH, I don't think it was the worst choice. It's up a bunch today. Cred and I talked about it on Friday after this move, and we're like, I mean, if there was time to buy it, that might have been it. Still not too convinced. It doesn't look that good, considering all the euphoria that I see around, but it's at least something. But we'll talk about it. Maybe your trend line was the bottom for ETH. Maybe. At least then I could claim clout for having drawn correctly. What's been the most challenging thing about a newborn with crypto so far? We are expecting a baby in June. I mean, with crypto, nothing. I mean, crypto is quite easy. You buy and then you walk away. Like if you're actively trading, you have a baby, good luck, because that shit is just, that's not a good combination. But if you're like just trading spot or whatever, I think it's okay. Anyway, before we start properly, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. Go check them out. Links are in the description. Yeah, that's that. They've been having cool competitions going on, volume, P&L competitions, that kind of stuff. I like it. Early on, like when I was trading a smaller portfolio, those kind of competitions were what I was looking for. Because I mean, if you're already trading, might as well get like an extra edge, basically, like an extra payout if you're right. And if you lose anyway, right? So I always like these kind of competitions. Bybit does them from time to time. Woo is doing them right now, like a bunch of them, basically. And I think they will not necessarily stop. Like there's going to be a couple. And yeah, I like it. Not general, like I think in general, no one should be trading, or like 99% of people listening shouldn't be trading. But if you're already trading, might as well pick your battles wisely, right? When you have a little bit of extra edge. Doesn't mean you have positive edge, right? But at least you have a little bit of extra. Anyway, I was on vacation the last couple of days. I mean, vacation, winter retreat, and I was hoping I would get to snowboard, but I was so tired I didn't go. I didn't go once. I can't believe I would ever say this because this is so not me. Packed everything, had everything ready. The mountain right in front of the doorstep, and I didn't go once because, yeah. Is there a paper trading competition? I don't think so. Sorry. Hey, late to stream. What did I miss? Just the intro, and the intro is just me babbling, nonsensical stuff. So nothing. Anyway, let's quickly talk about Bitcoin. Then go down the list. I mean, even ETH is interesting now. We have Solana and AVAX pulling back. I think that's basically just a rotation from Solana. Someone asked this from Solana and AVAX into ETH. Makes sense, right? A bunch of people basically have been making fun of ETH the entire time, sitting in Solana, and now it's like, now they're afraid that they're gonna miss out and they're rotating into ETH, which, I mean, at least like Solana and AVAX, I think can easily pull back like 50% plus. I don't think ETH is gonna do that. So at least you have a little bit of a buffer there. It's moving from a riskier asset into a less risky one. Could have also just moved into Bitcoin, but yeah. But that's kind of the reason why Sol and AVAX are pulling back. Basically, Hisaka is tweeting about ETH now instead of Solana and AVAX, and then it's just how it goes. At least that's what I saw on Twitter. And I didn't really check properly, so. But yeah, here we are, monthly time frame on Bitcoin, going into year end, very likely to be a good close. Above, I can actually change the screen, above 37K, which I think is quite good. That turns this entire area, and I will do this once we've closed, this entire area into support, right? And then we have a nice base to work off of if we should get an ETF dump. If it's a strong ETF dump, obviously, I don't think that's going to do much. But if it's a weak one, maybe we just get like into that support 35 to 37, and then that would be quite clean on the monthly time frame, right? So the monthly looks quite good if it closes like this. If it actually closes anywhere above like 40K, I think it looks quite decent. The problem is that you're running into a new situation coming January. So basically when you have candles going into news, and this is a monthly candle, so people oftentimes would disregard this, but given the ETF news has been around so long, I think the monthly candle is the same as the usual daily candle. Like, we're going into news, which means this candle doesn't mean much. We're going to have to basically wait and see how January goes. If it goes well, and kind of like people are trying to sell off, and then you just get a strong bid, then I think we're set up for a really good 2024 on the high time frame charts. If it sells off and dumps below 35K, I think we're set up really poorly. And then I think we would probably stick in this area for a while. So it's going to be an interesting January, really. Like, it's going to be basically setting the tone for the rest of the year. And I have no idea, honestly. No idea how it's going to go. For me, it makes more sense that the ETF is a sell the news event. But yeah, I'm not betting on anything. I'm just taking off. So that's kind of like how I look at this thing. But high time frame wise and just chart wise, not bad. I don't have any resistances between 30 and 60K, and that is on purpose. I think there is resistances that you can draw, but in the end, they don't matter too much. So the big ones are 35 and 60K. Anything in between, Might do something to price, but it's not gonna be pivotal. And I wouldn't want to do any business. Like I wouldn't want to, like for example, if I drew a resistance here, right? And I was like, oh yeah, this is resistance at 48K. Would I want to short there? No, I wouldn't. So why draw it? Obviously, generally I don't short, but yeah. Do you trade perps or just spot, Don? I just trade spot. Do you think we will see Bitcoin down to 20K? I think it's possible, but unlikely. I think 20K at this point, that's the lowest I could see it go. Like that's my, okay, it wicks. And I think that's unlikely, but not necessarily impossible. I would give this like a 10 to 20% chance of 20K. Then I would give, so like on a pullback basis, like 10% maybe 20K, and then like below 25 and 20, like in between 25 and 20, I would say like another 20, 30. I think in general, like what you're gonna look at, what's the most likely if we pull back is like 30K. That would be acceptable and would be not too unrealistic. Anything below 20, 23, 24, 25 seems quite unlikely at this point. If the ETF gets denied, I think that's where we're going, but I would give that very low chances. So yeah, I don't necessarily wouldn't want to bet on 20K. Don, I'm from Germany, new to trading. Can you explain the tax situation regarding trading perps? So there's when you're trading in Germany, if you make money trading futures, and perps are included there, you basically, let's say you make 20,000 on a trade, and then you lose 10,000, and then you make another 20, and then you lose 20, right? So basically you made 40 and you lost 30. You're gonna have to pay on basically, like you cannot just be like, okay, I made 40 and lost 30. So like you would think this is the calculation equals 10, and then I pay taxes on 10, right? But that's not how it works. You're paying taxes on the 40. And so taxes are quite high here. So you pay like almost, depending on how much you make, obviously, but it's up to like almost 50%. So you'd pay 20,000 in taxes for this. You lost 30, so you'd be down 10 grand. As in you pay more in taxes than you actually made. So you are fucked basically. People don't know this, but that is how it works here. How does taxing like that even make sense? It doesn't. It's basically just one, like it's not necessarily one dumb politician, but basically that doesn't understand how trading works. And it got smuggled into legislation. And apparently no one really looked into it well enough to kind of catch this. And now you're kind of fucked if you trade perps, if you trade options, all that kind of stuff in Germany. Very, very dangerous. So you really don't want to do this. One way to kind of circumvent it is just trading leveraged spot. Then you don't have that problem. Like whenever you get the actual Bitcoin, like then you don't have that problem. But anything options, perps, futures, whatever, you have these kind of problems. Anyway, that kind of it's a 5-minute tangent that only applies to 5 people, but here you go. I think it's important just based on the fact that you could actually lose a bunch more money than you have. So yeah, but yeah, the monthly looks good. The weekly time frame still same story, not bad. I would say like this is actually quite constructive consolidation. Like I said, the problem is running into news, right? And like if this starts dropping, like if this goes sideways into the new year and then starts dropping, that's going to be in hindsight a very obvious distribution top. If it goes up, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this was accumulation. It's easy to say what this is in hindsight, is what I'm saying, depending on how the news plays out. So it's also like a good looking chart with good levels. The levels are quite far away. But overall, like that's a bullish chart, right? So you don't want to be too bad-hearted. But for me, there's a support at 32K that I would find interesting to trade. And there's resistance at 60K that I would find interesting to trade. And then anything in between there would have to be like a big dump that doesn't quite make it to 30K, or like a pump that pulls back maybe to 40K. Those kind of areas, like here, or maybe even if it goes to 60 and then pulls back to 50, like those would be interesting for me to trade. I'm not a news kind of buyer, right? Like you're not going to see me buy into these kind of news. I think it's a little bit foolish unless you have some edge in trading that way. And I think most people don't. $20K is the max. You can count as a loss. Everything more does not count and will be taxed. Exactly. Like there's a minimum. As in like you can, like if you, in the calculation, obviously it goes a little bit different in the calculation. The 40 minus 30 thing. This one you can actually take out 20 out of this. As in like you basically have a limit. So a 20K free limit, basically, that you can apply. I don't know how to properly explain it. But given we're trading crypto and stuff, like portfolios go up 100,000 in a minute and then go down another 100,000 in the next. Those kind of limits are completely and utterly meaningless. Thank you, Olaf. He did this tax law nonsense while he was still the financial minister before he became chancellor. Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but yes. I probably missed it already, but I hope your daughter is sleeping better. It's been getting worse. Infinitely worse. Send help, brother. Send help. No, it's okay. $20K is a lot to me, so this is good to know. Yeah, but the problem is, like, let's say you trade 1,000 back and forth and you make like 100 or here, 100 there, whatever. You get there quickly because it's on every single trade. So I just tell people don't trade perps, don't trade options in Germany. So, but yeah, the weekly time frame basically interesting here on a larger pullback from higher maybe. Like I said, those kind of levels interesting. Right here, not that interesting. Going into the news event, I think it's too dangerous, basically. But if you have a position from lower and you're like, I wanna gamble on it, be my guest. I don't think it's the craziest to think that Bitcoin's gonna go up in the next 2 years or something. So if that's kind of your view and your position for it, don't have to play the low time frame kind of 10, 20, 30, 40% candles. In France, we are not even allowed to trade perps, so count yourself lucky. I think that's 10 times better. Because if you don't know this, like if I didn't know this and I can, even if I trade, like, for example, on the Woo account that I had, right, where I was making a leaderboard run just for fun, I was trading basically spot with a small portfolio, and my volume for 2023 was something like 30 million. I don't know. I mean, you can look it up. It's on the Woo leaderboard, 30 million or something. Imagine. Like, and I didn't really have many losses, right? But if I had a couple, imagine how high my tax bill would be on my normal trading if I didn't know about this. You're instantly liquidated, basically. This is horrendous. This is just such a dumb way to do anything. So small portfolio of $1 million. I mean, it started off with, I think I started it with 100,000. So I just ran it to 1 million. So trade on the DEX and just don't report it, not tax advice. Blockchains are quite public. I would not do this. People think they're so smart, but if you're trying to dodge taxes, this stuff is written down and it's gonna be on these blockchains forever. If you don't think they're gonna, in 10 years, there's gonna be tax software that can kind of track you, that just need an entry or an exit that kind of leads back to you, and you're completely and utterly fucked. I would not recommend doing that. Like if you want to trade something and not declare taxes, blockchains is pretty much the worst thing you can do it. Like, it's just so dumb. Like, that's the whole point, you know, like that you can kind of verify all the transactions. So if you have one slip up, you're fucked. So, but yeah, you guys do you. I'm paying my taxes because at the end of the day, like crypto money comes easy, and I'd rather not lose everything / go to jail for something dumb. Like, and I mean, in my opinion, making a little bit more money, or in Germany, a lot more money, would be a dumb reason to go and fuck your life over, in my opinion. Like, that just doesn't really make sense. Like, that's like, if your risk to reward is basically like, you have this the trade that people take on crypto, and it's hilarious. So they're like, okay, here we go. My target is like a 50 to 100x, 50% to 100, like, as in, like, depending on where you are, 2 times the money, and my stop loss is fucking jail. What the fuck are you doing? You know, like, that seems like a shitty risk to reward. Like, I don't get how that makes any sense from a trading perspective. But yeah, you do you at the end of the day. I mean, fucking hell. After 10 years, you're saved though. I mean, couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me, like, even if I got 10 times the money out of it, I wouldn't want to have that stress in my life, looking over my shoulder constantly. I don't get it. It's a shitty trade-off, in my opinion. Someone asks, why does technical analysis works? The reason why it works, and this is just for crypto because I'm actually not a big believer in TA, is basically because crypto is inherently almost impossible to value. I mean, how the fuck do you value Dogecoin, right? Like, you cannot. There's no traditional ways to value any of this, really. Like, the traditional way to value stuff does not apply to any of this. One of the reasons of that might just be that it's all worthless, right? But then how do you kind of find something that you can make use of to know whether you should be buying or selling? And a lot of basically market participants answer that question with using TA. And then, like, if enough people believe in it, it becomes like a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't necessarily believe in TA in traditional markets too much. I think it's a bit of a meme, unless the market gets really, really violent and really, like, for example, the COVID crash. At that point, like, nothing makes sense anymore. And how the fuck do you value it? And then TA works again, right? We are always, and this is how I would think about these markets, we are always in a constant state of how the world was during COVID. Like, crypto is just like in a constant state of complete and utter chaos and confusion, right? So that's why TA works in this market somewhat. I would not necessarily say in other markets it works as well. That's kind of how I look at it. That's why I think it works. And any more complicated answers I find a little bit memey. People are trying to kind of make themselves look smart by saying, yeah, this and that, and the reason why it works is this and that, and complicated. I think it's simple as that. Basically, people don't know what the fuck this is and how much it's worth, and then they come back to stupid meme lines and stupid like momentum and whatever, and that's kind of how I look at it. Anyway, we completely went off course as usual. You should be kind of you should be used to that by now. But yeah, the daily time frame, right? So on the daily time frame, the market ran back into resistance and actually got rejected again over Christmas. And right now ETH is pumping, which is very much the worst thing to happen for the market, in my opinion. As in, like, the moment ETH pumps, Bitcoin becomes vulnerable to the downside. It's basically, and I mean, the reason for it I've explained in other streams, but it's something that I've been keeping an eye on since the start of the rally. The whole narrative of this rally was the Bitcoin ETF. If we get flows from Bitcoin into ETH, because people are like, yeah, the Bitcoin narrative is quite old. Like it shows basically that we're running, like that narrative is running out of time. People are starting to rotate elsewhere, not only into stupid shit like whatever Bonk and AVAX and Solana and whatever, but also into not so stupid shit which is ETH. And that indicates that the narrative has run its course. Now, obviously, the market doesn't need the narrative to go up, but it sure helps. And I think this is basically an indication, like the more ETH goes up is an indication that the whole Bitcoin ETF narrative is weakening. Love you, Doug, but picking on ETH is such cope. How am I picking on ETH? I literally said it's I literally said it's not as stupid as the rest. How is that picking on anything? If anything, it's the opposite. I'm saying ETH is too good for it to rally in like for the market to be healthy when it's rallying, just based on the fact that the Bitcoin ETF is basically a narrative that we have. But yeah, I'm not hating on ETH. If anything, like I think beyond Bitcoin, like I'm not the biggest fan on anything besides Bitcoin, right? Like I don't like any of this. But I mean, if I had to pick a number two, it'd be ETH. It's just it was a dumb trade, and that's why I kept shit talking it. Now last Friday stream when we were trading down here, I was like, this is the trend line that I've had on the chart. So go ahead if you want to be buying ETH. That's the one point where I can actually understand it. So that's kind of like produced a nice bounce. I'm still not on board that this is going to be the bottom. I think there's a good chance that if the Bitcoin ETF dump happens as I expect it to, which is not guaranteed, but if it does, that ETH actually kind of deflates even more. People lose more hope, and then I think that dump would be a good buy. But if that doesn't happen, and if the Bitcoin ETF actually pumps Bitcoin immediately, maybe you get a nice rotation into ETH, and then you just get a pump on Bitcoin and a pump in ETH, and then everything is good in the world. Did you happen to read what Messi wrote the other day? And do you have an opinion on it? No, I don't have Twitter access when I'm not on my computer. So, and I was on vacation, so I didn't take my computer. So, didn't have TradingView, didn't have Twitter access the last couple of days. So, yeah. But yeah, ETH's pumping, and I think that's not necessarily the best for Bitcoin. Could be good for ETH. But it's most definitely not the best for Bitcoin. The further ETH goes, the more bearish for Bitcoin, in my opinion. So that's something to watch. That's why I think if you want to take an ETH trade, take it on the Bitcoin pair. It's more interesting that way. Because basically you could bet on a Bitcoin top on ETH if you wanted to. But you have to be quite nimble on that. it doesn't, like, you cannot hold those kind of positions for long. If I'm not mistaken, an ETH ETF was filled. Yeah, but we've had that happen before. As in, like, I don't know which one you're talking about, but we've had a couple being applied anyway. Like, there's been applications for an ETH ETF. I think it's very unlikely that we're going to get any in 2024, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's been like Bitcoin, back to Bitcoin. I'm all over the place. Sorry, like I said, I'm on no sleep. Day 5 of no sleep, it feels like. We got rejected. Now we have ETH pumping. It's not the best. Now it's obviously like, this is still constructive price action, I would call it. You can kind of, if you want to, I think you could do something like this, be like, okay, yeah, this is like an ascending kind of, and I know these lines don't make sense to most of you guys, but you can either draw it like this and be like, whatever. What I like to do is basically just through price. I like it better that way, but you could argue like, hey, this is kind of like pushing into a resistance more and more and more. And as long as it doesn't kind of fall out of this whole thing, which would be like somewhere here, it's looking quite good. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. So low time frame, especially given we have a news catalyst coming, I wouldn't want to be shorting this just based on the fact that we're getting like a little bit of weakness here on the daily chart, and we're getting a little bit of an ETH pop, because if the Bitcoin ETF news comes out, there's a good chance that you get liquidated. If anything, you would want to short that news when it gets announced. Now, obviously, if people start flaking and this breaks down and you get the news and it goes like this and keeps going down, it's still going to be lower than right now, but I think it's still the better trade if you wanted to. Like, if this basically sells off and you get ETF news and you sell the news, that would still be a better trade even though it's lower. So I wouldn't necessarily be too worried about shorting this thing, especially given we're just a couple days away, right? So that's my view on this. We keep on pushing into resistance. If it comes back up there, cool. Probably going to pop a little. But there's a little bit of, you should be a little bit cautious just based on the fact that the Bitcoin ETF narrative is obviously weakening, with a bunch of altcoins going ballistic and now ETH going up too. Sol ETH top in. I mean, Sol went to my target, right? Like, I was like, you can be bullish this thing, and it makes sense to me until this monthly resistance, and we smashed into it. Now, like, I wouldn't want to be bullish Sol anymore. I think that's beyond overextended at this point. I think if I had to make a bet on Solana versus ETH, and I kept on saying the exact opposite, now I would want to bet on ETH. I think ETH could just continue going down, right? ETH BTC. But I think if that happens, Solana BTC is going to go down more. So I think the Sol trade is basically done. Could be completely wrong. I don't have a horse in the race, but I don't see why you would want to be like betting on higher at this point on Sol. If anything, I think there's other coins that you can rotate into, and that's what people are doing, right? I've seen a bunch of people rotate into ETH, and ETH kind of, protocols using ETH and all that kind of stuff. Lido is up 12% today. I think that's going to be a trend from now on. I think the Solana thing is done, or mostly done. And basically, if you're chasing it now, you're overextending. So that's on the Solana front. I don't see the point. Like, I would, and I really don't like the ETH trade. But I think if I had to make one, I'd actually rather take ETH at this point. So yeah, ETH pretty much the same as Bitcoin. I think it could pop even if Bitcoin doesn't towards like 2.5. That's the next resistance, and then I see it struggle as well. And on ETH BTC, like I said, it hit the trend line, and I mean, on my chart it didn't quite, but it depends on how you draw it. So with these kind of things, you're never too accurate. That's why trend lines kind of suck, because whether you anchor it here or here makes a huge difference. And then look, I anchored it like a millimeter off, and then I can just do this, and now it fits perfectly. So problem with trend lines, you can draw them a million different ways, but it got in the area and now it's bouncing. So that's a good thing for the ETH bulls. I think in general, you don't want to get too excited as long as you're trading above, below 0.057. So that's where I would be cautiously optimistic above here. Right now, we're just basically back to where we were 3 weeks ago. And Solana is up quite a bit more. And AVAX is up quite a bit more. Link, I mean, depending on how you draw it, obviously, also more. Pretty much everything's up more. So I wouldn't be too excited, but it's at least a good day. And it's coming from a good support, which is good. What to do for sub 20 entries? Sell all? I mean, I have no idea what you should be doing. I didn't buy any. But I generally think this is a reach. But I'm not a fundamental kind of guy. For me, Solana is like Dogecoin, is like whatever. Like for me, I trade these numbers more so than I trade the underlying. So if you're a big Solana fan, you can just keep holding. It's like if you got a good entry lower and you're like, I love Solana, I think it's gonna change the world, be my guest. I don't think any of these, maybe including Bitcoin, is gonna change the world. So for me, it doesn't really. Like I just look at, okay, how far has this run? And I think it has run quite far. Any view on AVAX? I don't even know where this line comes from. Actually not that bad. So AVAX is pretty much in the same boat as Solana. AVAX is literally the Solana trade, basically. Solana is the clear chart. AVAX is basically just like, oh, Solana went up, so AVAX has to go up too. So you're basically reliant on Solana doing well. If Solana shits the bed, you're gonna get shit on. I don't think TA matters too much on the AVAX pair. It's literally just a Solana trade. Don, are you planning to rebuy soon? No. I think I'm going to give it like, at best, if the entire market giga dumps in January, I might. If it doesn't, I will just wait until March, most likely. I've had enough, basically. I'm taking off from trading generally, unless something crazy happens. Until then, you just have me paper trade lab, whatever you want to call it. I'm not doing anything in the market. Angelo just entered Sol at $106 and posted about it 2 minutes ago. Let's see if he lost his mojo. I mean, to be fair, he also entered Doge at 0. He entered Doge at 0. Like whatever 25-ish. I don't remember quite right. I think he targeted $1, so he almost got it and then full round tripped it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Solana is going down 100%. I'm just saying from a trading perspective, like, what are you doing here, right? Like this broke resistance, ran all the way to the next one, is up a gajillion percent. Yeah, maybe it goes higher, but then do that trade in the next year, right? This year, I don't see the point. Hey Don, how do you look at Doge BTC? I just don't. I think Doge is dead, basically. There's gonna be a pump again at some point, but I think Elon basically killed Doge with he killed the community, made it more grifter, less cool. I think if you wanna trade something Doge-like, just trade the shit like Bonk or like all the other coins. I don't see the point for Doge anymore. Yeah, it could go to... Freddy says, yeah, Sol could go to 90. No one could complain about it. I think Sol could go to 30 and no one should be able to complain about it. It would still be a bullish chart. I'm not saying it will. If it goes, I would buy it. If not, I wouldn't. If anything, and I mean like the Angelo trade, whatever, if you want to like do this, I think 100, like anything for Solana in like the 100 region, even if it goes up towards like 200 or 300 or whatever, which I think is a massive reach, but possible, right? Always possible. You're going to get that price again. With 30, maybe not, right? But in general, like if you think Solana's going to go up, I could see it go up. I don't think it's going to do that, but whatever. But I think at that point, it would still come back down and you could still rebuy basically at prices that we have currently. But I think I don't see how buying 100 to 120 is sane in any capacity. Like, just doesn't make any sense to me. Don, do you feel that the market feels toppy given that meme coins and ETH are pumping? I mean, I generally think that the ETF is going to be a sell the news event. So by definition, I think the market is toppy. But that obviously kind of adds to my conviction a little bit that you have like ETH pumping, Solana going nuts, like a bunch of altcoins going crazy. Like, yeah. Like, to me, it feels very frothy. But the thing with froth, and this is why, like I said, like this can, like I legit think that Solana, like if the market goes even more crazy, can go to 300 or 400. It will just retrace all of that. Like that's all the froth part. I think in general, like quite a bit, like from 60 to wherever we are gonna go is all froth. And that's fair enough. And froth can go much higher, but froth usually retraces. So seems like he aims for 140. Yeah, fair enough. Like if you target 140, that's a short-term trade. Look, this is barely like, but I still don't get that trade, to be honest. Like I just don't get it. Like why buy 110, target 140 west? Like I just looking at this chart, I just don't see it. Why do we think Bitcoin won't double in the next 2 years? When did I ever say that? Bitcoin could double. Like double from here doesn't sound too crazy to me. 80K, it's okay. I mean, I originally targeted 100K, and I still think 100K is very doable. I just don't think we're gonna get I don't think the market is gonna trading well after the ETF for a little bit. Like that's kind of where I have an issue, but it could, and that's something that I would not necessarily like. People are always speaking absolutes, and I don't get it. Like, how the fuck would you know? You know, like whenever I talk with people, they're like, oh yeah, this and this goes to that and that price. I'm like, how the fuck do you know? Like I don't. I just trade these coins and hope for the best. So anything I say is not a certainty, and I don't think anyone can predict where anything goes. Like you can bet on something where you think you have an edge, and that's it. And you don't really have, you cannot read the future. But yeah. 100K in 2024? No. I think 100K in 2025, 2026, 2027-ish. Like that I could see. Basically put in a consolidation of this kind of length again, somewhere here. That's what I think is in store for us in 2024. This price action here. And then 2025, 2026 could be something like this. Doesn't have to be. Basically, you're saying Sol can go to 400 or 30. Nice alpha. Did I ever say that I'm giving out alpha on Solana? I'm saying it's a reach to buy it here at 100. But I don't have a trade. I don't have any alpha if I don't have a trade. I mean, people are like, oh, you have to give me alpha. Like, dude, if I had alpha on this, I'd be trading it, but I just don't. It's just my thoughts. My thoughts is more likely that Solana goes to 30 than it's to go to 300. But could be completely wrong and wouldn't cost me a sleepless night. Are we still expecting a halving pump as given game theory wise? I'm not. I think in general the halving meme has been, it's a meme, but it's been accurate, and it's been accurate because the Bitcoin price just generally goes up. Like the halving barely, like the more halvings you go through, the less of an impact the halving has. And we've gone through quite a bit, and that has reduced the impact of every time you have a halving, the impact of the next one is reduced by half. It's just literally how, that's how it works. And the reason why you see the market pump after halving is because the market generally wants to go up. It's Bitcoin. It's not the halving. Because if you look at other things that have halvings, it doesn't have an impact, or barely any. So it's not we have a halving, price must go up. It's price generally goes up. We have a halving, maybe it goes up again, but that's because the price generally goes up. But yeah, so that's that. We have a little bit of a rotation going from Solana to ETH. I think generally that's not necessarily the worst thing, but I think you really don't want to see ETH strength. The more ETH strength you see, the worse for Bitcoin. So that's something that you should be monitoring. In general, I think you shouldn't be monitoring anything right now. There's no trades to be had that I see, besides shitcoin land, and that's not something I trade too much anyway. You should be enjoying Christmas and New Year's with your family. That's kind of how I look at it. I'm super fucking tired, so I'm going to call it a day. I'm sorry for not spreading any alpha, as the dude in the chat said. It's just how it is. Sometimes there's just my thoughts and not necessarily a trade idea, whatever, because I don't have any right now. I'm just thinking about how to survive the next day by not getting woken up by my little angel / demon, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys coming by. Big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description. Go check them out. And yeah, see you guys on Friday. Next Friday, as in this Friday, whatever. Cred and I will talk properly about what we expect in 2024. I hinted towards what I'm expecting already, but we'll go into depth on it, and we're going to have some fun. So subscribe or whatever if you want to see that. If not, also cool. Yeah. Appreciate you guys coming by. Have a nice evening / day / morning / whatever. Much love, and bye-bye.